Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're just going to wait for some folks to log on, but if you wouldn't mind muting, just so we can keep the background noise to a minimum. And we can use the we can use the chat feature if there's any questions. All right, just give another minute or minute and a half for people to join, and then we'll get started because we have lots to cover. And this will be recorded, so if there's any parts that you miss or anything you want to go back to, then you can watch the recording after. Give it another minute. Excellent. Okay, so I think we'll get started. So thanks to everyone for joining. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me. If you can give me a thumbs up. Excellent. Thank you. Awesome. So welcome to our webinar for industry on our High School Tech Immersion program from techNL. So we're very excited to have you with us today and appreciate you taking some time to join and learn about the program and hopefully maybe garner some interest in taking part. So this session is being recorded, just to let everybody know. I just mentioned, but we'll be sending out a link that is available after the webinar. It is intended for the industry. So if you are a member of the industry, the tech industry, this is kind of geared toward you. But if you're not, if you're coming from a different organization or a support organization, or you're more so coming from the viewpoint of a high school student, you can definitely learn a little bit about our program through watching this as well. So welcome to everybody. We will be taking questions at the end. So if there's anything that comes up throughout the webinar that you want to ask a question about or want to clarify, just make a note of it, or you can put it in our chat and we'll get to that at the end. But we'll just get through the bulk of the content and our discussion and then do questions at the end. So yeah, to give you a little bit of an overview on what this program is, we have some people here who have probably taken part before, but some that are brand new. So it is a funded program for high school students to gain work experience and exposure to the tech industry. We've ran it now in 2021 and 2022, so this is our third year. It's open to grade 10, 11, and 12 students all across the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. We offer in-person and remote working options and working placements for these students so that there's no barrier to access based on where a student lives. And we do this through the support of the industry. So local tech and tech-enabled companies sign on as employers or supporters of the program. And that means taking on a high school student or a team of high school students with them for a period of 6 weeks during the summer. So we don't have any of the dates solidified or anything like that yet, but it will be during the summer, July and August, and for a 6-week period. So that can kind of give you the Coles Notes version of what the program is. To kind of cover what the program is all about and why we do it, one of the reasons is to increase awareness in the tech sector. So I do a lot of work in my role. I probably should have introduced myself. My name is Susan Kelly. I work with techNL as a high school talent lead. So my role is focused on building awareness of what's going on in our tech sector and sharing that with students, teachers, the school system, and stakeholders to let them know that there's really great opportunities for success, meaningful careers, fulfilling and rewarding career pathways that they can choose to go down. So that's priority and objective number one. The other part of that is to increase the overall participation and diversity within the tech sector. So anyone who's involved in the tech sector might notice that there are maybe inequalities within who's represented. So we want to make sure that the students that are coming up and graduating high school and going into post-secondary know that this pathway can be for them no matter what their background is. This is also a program to help students get a unique experience that they can add to their portfolio that they can use then to help them make decisions. So throughout the program, they gain work experience for their resume, they gain technical skills through some training that we offer, they gain business skills and business acumen just by being involved in a company. And they also get to build their networks. So they get to meet people, peers like themselves, so students of kind of their age that might be similar interests, but they also get to meet people within the industry. They get to meet CEOs, managers, and people working in all different professions. From the company side, we have objectives to help companies complete projects and complete tasks. So I know probably most everyone can think of a project that they can never get to that they would love to accomplish. We think and believe that our high school students can help you achieve those tasks. They can help increase your processes or help increase your efficiency. So you'll see a little bit later, I'll tell you some ways that students have actually helped companies, but it might look like researching new tools and software. It might help just by having a new perspective on how meetings are run or how the office is run. But that will help a company kind of succeed in that way. And then finally, the objective for the companies is to become more innovative. So by engaging with youth and engaging with students who are coming with fresh perspectives and fresh energy, companies can avail of that. If anyone's worked with students, particularly high school students, when they're passionate about something, it is really contagious. I've heard from multiple employers in the past say, you know, they were shocked and amazed about how a student comes with energy and passion, and it just kind of, it brings new life to a team and brings new life to a company. So that's one of our objectives as well. We now have Jacqueline Lee. She's our board chair with techNL. Is going to speak to some of the impacts and some of the importance of this program. Jacqueline.
Thank you, Susan. I never miss up an opportunity to talk about this program. It is super impactful and rewarding for us ourselves as companies, and for the students themselves. So we PolyUnity is we are bringing 3D printing into healthcare, and we're a very tiny company. I think back when we took our first 3 high school students in 2020, yeah, time flies. we were only about 10 people. So I think any company can take advantage of this program. It doesn't matter the size or the resources you have. I think Susan, over the past couple of years, super open to feedback, has changed the program to really meet the needs of the students and the industry participants. So at this point, it's only a 6-week thing. It's only, we did it for like 6 hours a day. We did it 4 days a week. So it was really easy for us to bring these 3 members onto our team and to give them really meaningful projects. It sort of shocked us from day one that they were immediately contributing. We consider them full team members. They participated in meetings. They helped actually design products. They came with us to meet clients in the hospitals. They were super engaged and interested in every aspect of what we were doing. Susan's last slide there showed a picture of our 3 first interns, Sophia, Alex, and Luke. And they're amazing individuals, and we're following their progress today. And then this last year, we also took another 3 students onto our team. So from our aspect, I think it's super important that industry participate in activities and programs like this. So many students are undecided. They have so many choices in front of them. They don't know what roles actually mean or how many roles there actually are. So these opportunities at real world applications really help them decide what their interests are and what they should pursue after graduation. And I know in a number of cases, ours in particular, it really helps students decide on a very clear path where they were previously unsure about it. We know that there are several underrepresented groups and minorities, such as Indigenous, rural, remote workers, and other minorities. So it's really important that these individuals have opportunities and access and to see other individuals that look just like them in roles. I say this often, they need to see it to be it. And then on the company side, it's incredibly rewarding and impactful. All of our team members are so excited every summer when we get a chance to meet new students and to bring them onto our team. The students are so curious and they ask so many questions. It really helps us take a step back and think about our processes and why we do things. And it gives us that new perspective to really analyze the things that we do every day. It's given our staff new skills to explain really technical things in simpler terms or to new people that are unfamiliar with what we do, which is really important that's helped us talk to clients. We deal with nurses and doctors and technicians every day, and to help explain the technical things we do to people outside of our field. The students really helped us with that whole aspect of it. And it gave our team members leadership skills. They had to come up with projects. They had to help guide and mentor these students. Even we hosted interns from the university programs at the exact same time. And we gave some of these interns responsibility over managing the high school kids. And it gave a full circle opportunities for leadership development on both sides. And we didn't have a ton of expectations going into it. But again, these students were full-time team contributors from day one. Lots of opportunity for reverse mentoring. They taught us just as much as we taught them, I think. And I'm excited to see some of these individuals go through the different co-op programs at MUN or other programs, and then we'll welcome them back as interns when they get to that phase of their education. So I'm going to stick around till the very end with Susan, and certainly open to any questions from other companies about the experience and how easy it is to participate. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Excellent. So we're going to hear today from 2 students and 2 other employers. So as Jacqueline mentioned, PolyUnity, her company, was a part of the program as well. So there's lots of folks on the call that have taken part and who know what the program looks like from a day-to-day basis on the ground. So if you have questions and want to know more about that, that's I think what's really special about this this session. You'll actually get to hear what it was like for both students and employers. So before we get into that discussion, I just wanted to give you a little bit of history on the program. I've mentioned that we've ran it for the last 2 years. So in year 1, we had 70 applicants. In year 2, we had 140. So it doubled in size in terms of student interest. I continue my work through outreach. techNL continues its work, and other programs are building awareness of the tech sector. So I believe that that number will only grow again in size in terms of student applicants and student interest. In year 1, we had 34 placements, and in year 2, we had 22. So those numbers are determined by the interest and the availability within the industry to take on students. So in year 1, we had 18 companies, and year 2, we had 14. So most companies took either 1 or 2 students each. There was a company in year 1 that had 7, so it is doable. But most companies in those years had 1 to 2 students. This year, I'm going to suggest a new format where teams of students would join a company. So stay tuned for that goal at the end. So within the program, students go to work. They also do some integrated training and learning. So the past 2 years, we've worked with a training provider to provide Python coding. Students leave the program with a micro-credential in a industry relevant skill. And then last year, we also integrated some business training based on some feedback we heard from students and from employers that they want to see a little bit more of the business side of things. Even if they're working in a software development or an engineering type role, it's important for them to kind of see the gamut of how a tech company runs, and the business side is equally as important as the tech side. So we ran that training through our industry partners as well. And it was mentioned the first year we ran it for 9 weeks, and it's a funded program. So 75% of the costs were funded by our funding agreement. The second year we shortened the program to 6 weeks, again, based on feedback from students and from employers. Students enjoyed a little bit more time in between their high school classes finishing up in June and starting up again in September. And companies had a little bit of an easier time placing students for 6 weeks instead of the 9. So just to give you some idea on who takes part in this program. So within the 34 placements in the first year, 30% were female or non-binary, and 38% lived outside the Avalon Peninsula. And with the second year in 2022, the 22 student placements, 36% of them were female or non-binary, and 65% lived outside the Avalon Peninsula. So we're quite proud to offer this opportunity to underrepresented groups, and to make sure that students who are living in rural or remote or a non-urban area are still getting exposure to our tech sector, which is provincial and province-wide. So I'm very proud of that fact. Just to give you a bit of an idea of what students did, this is a question I hear a lot, like, this all sounds great, but what does it actually look like? So I kind of broke it down into 3 main categories. Some students would be given projects and tasks based specifically on what the company was doing or what they assigned. I mentioned, projects that you don't quite get to, or projects that are kind of being done off the side of someone's desk. These students are coming with a vast array of experiences and skills and interest areas. So they may be in grade 10, 11, and 12, but you'd be really surprised what students are learning on their own in self-directed ways, or through their computer science or tech courses at their school, and after school and extracurricular things. So students, these are actual examples of what they did. They told me that they did social media, they did search engine marketing, they updated websites and web pages. Some worked on robotics. They researched new equipment for the organization. Some were working on rendering images for simulations. They worked on digitalization of some content for a company. Some worked on consumer app development and design, new market research and RFP research. Some worked on product development and maintenance, quality assurance and testing. They helped set up future programs that would be run from the organization. They worked on data analytics, data visualization, and researching some new software and tools. So all very useful, meaningful projects, which I think some of our guests will speak to as well, what the students did and what they were able to achieve. In terms of employee wellness and company culture, this is something that students can really help, because it will, first of all, expose them to what their company values in terms of what they provide their employees and how they run their company. So some student teams worked with HR and admin to learn about how the organization is run, especially in a virtual world where offices are run remotely. That could be a really kind of interesting insight. One team of students created a widget that allowed you to shout out to other coworkers within the organization. Students worked on organization and efficiency in the office and within the teams. They researched into youth perspective. So one company actually got the youth to take a view on what their product looked like to their age group and to their generation, which helped inform them on, on going forward. And there was one team of students that actually built a game for a company-wide social. I think it was a virtual trivia game that was played at the end of the summer, kind of as a celebration. So just some ideas there. And then of course they could do some learning and training. So while there is some training built into the program, if a student is working with a company, they can do Google certification training, Salesforce training, or company specific training on types of software that are used, or different tools and things within the company. Some students worked on building a personal website, and they did that in HTML and CSS through some training of from the employees at the company. So there's lots and lots that they can do. It's really wide open, and techNL is here to help in terms of figuring out what your students can do with you and what would be a suitable and meaningful experience for both the employers and the students. So with that, I think we'll go to the discussion. So I'll introduce our guests. And we also have Jacqueline who's staying on as well. So Jacqueline, if you want to hop in on any of the questions, feel free. But just to introduce us, we have Russell Corbett. Russell was a participant in 2021 as a student. He worked with Celtics. Ovia Manokara Raja was working with M5 marketing in 2022. So those are our two student perspectives. And then we have Renat Yulmatov, and he works at Secor and worked very closely with our students in 2022. And Emily Bland, a CEO of Succeed. Succeed took part in 2021 and employed a student then. So we're really excited to hear from these folks. We're going to do some Q&A and hear from you guys about your perspectives. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that everyone can see your faces as you talk. So excellent. So I think we'll start with the students. So Russell, I'm going to put you on the spot first. Could you tell everyone why you decided to participate in the program?
So all throughout high school, I was interested in tech. The teachers knew that as soon as I finished my work and they turned their back, I was gone to the robotics lab, because I was learning a lot more there with a hands-on experience than some of my classes were teaching me. My teacher mentor, Clarence Button, recognized this and encouraged my success in tech. He taught me so much. Our discussions were so informative, and we were able to talk about where tech was going. One afternoon, one of my other teacher mentors approached me about this amazing opportunity that I could take, where I could go to a local tech company before I even started my engineering degree. So of course, it was no question I had to sign up for this program. And then from there, I was assigned with Celtics, and it was an amazing experience.
Excellent. Thanks, Russell. So just to let everyone know, Russell is currently, you're in your second year of computer engineering, is that correct?
Chris. How are you?
Oh,
Good, good.
just mute that person there. Excellent. Thank you, Russell. We'll move on to Ovia. So Ovia is another student. So Ovia, can you tell us why you decided to take part?
So I've always had like an interest in marketing and technology. And when I was in grade 12, I got a presentation from Susan and techNL about this amazing high school tech immersion program. And I was really interested in what the program had to offer. So I ended up applying, and I was very fortunate enough to get into this amazing program. And I was matched with M5 Marketing Communications, which was amazing because I had strongly mentioned in my application that I was really interested in marketing. And it was just so amazing to just work on the side of marketing and to just have that experience, because like, you know, mostly like I see like internships, they're like mostly for like post-secondary students or like post-graduating post-secondary students. So it was really cool to just experience that fresh out of high school. So.
Excellent. Thanks, Ovia. Yeah, so for everyone listening, when we go through the applications from techNL's side, we do take note of what the students are interested in. So for Ovia, she made it very clear that she was interested in marketing, and we were able to thankfully find a position that suited her interests, and the same for Russell and that cohort as well. So we do try our best to match students with interests so that they go to a company and they come with enthusiasm and energy. So thank you to two of you. I think we'll ask you another question. So Russell, what was the most valuable thing? So you said you worked for Celtics, and for anyone who doesn't know, Celtics is a software company. What was the most valuable thing that you took from the program?
There was two extremely valuable things that I took, which were the networking and the real work environment atmosphere experience, especially with being online. With so many companies transitioning to online, getting to know that feeling of working with different people when not even in the same building or not even in communication directly was something that was very important to learn before starting university, because now with my work terms, some of them are doing the same thing. So getting that experience before starting my engineering career was very important and helpful. With the networking side, I was able to meet so many amazing people through techNL, through Keene College, which is where we were taught our Python program, and through my company and other companies that were involved in the program. All the people that had so much industry experience at Celtics doing web development, app development, learning about cloud development, all these different areas that I was interested in and wanted to learn more about. I was being connected with the people that could directly help me learn more about these things.
Excellent. Yeah, and Russell told me a story recently. He was at MUN and ran into a participant who worked at a different company, but they had seen each other online through training and through orientation with techNL, and they actually met up. And now I think, Russell, you said they're on your robotics team? Yep,
recruited him right to my team, and we just knew each other from then, and now we're right back together again.
Excellent. So there's a value too for students to not just meet older and professionals, but to meet people of their own age who have the same interests. So excellent. Thanks, Russell. So Ovia, what was the most valuable thing you took from your internship?
Some of the most valuable things I took from my internship was the whole idea of remote working. I did my entire internship remotely because I'm based out in Corner Brook. And I had previously done some remote stuff, because of COVID, I did 2 years of school remotely, but I feel like it gave me an idea of what a remote workplace looks like, because nowadays technology is very important and things are shifting online nowadays. And I feel like it taught me because sometimes it can get intense, learning things online or doing things online. And now I'm currently doing university online for my first year. So it kind of gave me that experience as well. And also I would say definitely being in a work environment. I feel like I got exposed through the program about what like a 9-to-5 work environment will be once I graduate post-secondary. And like I had like meetings, like what like a typical workplace would do. So I got like introduced to that, and like I think it was an amazing opportunity to be introduced to that.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, there's some unique experiences for these students. You know, when you think of when I was in high school, my summer job was a day camp, which was excellent because I was planning on being a teacher, so I got lots of experience in that regard. But for students who are interested in going into tech and working in business, I think, you know, having had the opportunity to kind of see how that rolls out day to day, as you can hear, is quite valuable. So thank you. We have one more question for our students. So a couple of you've already kind of alluded to your general interests, but was there anything special about the program on how it influenced you in what you're going to do next, or how you're going to like what your career pathway, your education pathway is going to look like? Russell, if you want to go first.
So for me, when I started the program, I was still in the middle of the debate of, do I stay or do I go for post-secondary? I wasn't sure if I wanted to go to MUN or if I was going to go away to Western. So throughout the program, I was able to meet so many industry leaders in Newfoundland, and it showed me the opportunities that a degree at MUN could have and where all these people were able to put their knowledge that they were taught and succeed even in our island. So being a part of the program made my decision to stay much easier. And also I wasn't sure of which engineering I wanted to do. My first choice was mechatronics, but sadly that's not offered at MUN until this year coming. So any student that's joining the techNL program now might be able to do it. But originally I wanted to do mechanical, but then when I finished the techNL program, I realized what I really wanted to do was computer. So in two ways, it helped me realize and finalize really what I wanted to do in post-secondary. It also helped me figure out how I wanted to be more involved in university. Since starting computer engineering, I've joined 3 student teams: Eastern Edge Robotics, FMUN 10th, and Relay for Life. And this past summer, Eastern Edge traveled to California and placed 3rd in the overall competition and 1st in speeches. So it really shows you what Newfoundland University students can do on the global stage.
Awesome perspective. Thank you, Russell. How about you, Ovia? How did it help you make some decisions or influence your thoughts?
So as I previously mentioned, I have had an interest in marketing and tech for some time. And I feel like on the tech side, I got introduced to Python via the Keen program, and I learned a lot about that. So I feel like I can apply it in different ways. And I just recently got accepted into a Skills for Hire Atlantic program where I'm going to learn web development skills. And so that's something really interesting coming up, and that could help me potentially for my employment in the tech sector. And marketing, I learned a lot about like marketing skills and during my time at M5 Marketing Communications. And I feel like learning more about that has kind of inspired me to want to major in marketing when the time comes. And I also potentially want to do a co-op program. And I also am on my 2nd internship in marketing at Immigrant Women in Business. And I just feel like those experiences can definitely help me in the future. And I'm really excited for what's next.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, 2 of these students are very eager, as you can tell, and they're willing to take on new adventures. Just a little background on Ovia. I sent out back in October if anyone wanted to join a cybersecurity team. That very clearly we had no experience running, and Ovia was one of the first people to put up her hand. And Russell sharing that he's joined 3 teams just since joining MUN. I mean, I think we can see from our students that these are just 2 students, but they do represent the energy and the enthusiasm and the eagerness within our high school students. So thanks for sharing your insights. I think we'll move on to our employer side to see what it was like to actually employ students. So Renat, I think we'll start with you. So if you want to introduce yourself first, just to kind of give people an idea of what you do, you can do that.
Yeah, hello, my name is Renat. I work for C-Core. My position is a bit of everything. We are a non-profit organization. We are on Mon campus. We are integrated with their systems, and we have a close relationship with Mon, and lots of research is happening in C-Core. But we also have to find our own projects to work for private clients too. So I'm kind of research engineer. I focus on ice. I focus on cold ocean stuff. I do a bit of machine learning, a bit of programming, and a little bit of maybe project management. And yes, we are always happy to have students.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Renat, you said you have lots of post-secondary students, as you can imagine, being so close to MUN. In terms of why C-Core decided to take part, what would you say? What was the reason you decided to took on 2 high school students last year? So
yes, well, we have constant stream of students from MUN. First of all, just every semester we have a couple of dozen students coming, and they are not just work terms, they are master students and some PhD students too. And because we are a research organization, we have tons of data and tons of work to do. Like it's never enough. And it's all kinds of work, whether preparing samples down in the lab, or someone gets back from field work and there's gigabytes of data to crunch. Or we also have tasks related to administrative resources, like some students create marketing materials or company newsletters. There's always a task. That's first thing to do. For first reason we wanted to have students. And the second one, well, this program has been quite a success, and these students eventually will enter universities, and they will come back to us for work terms and maybe as potential hires. And basically, if I meet this person on an interview, I know where my choice is.
excellent. Yeah, that's right. So thank you so much. Emily, do you want to share some insights with why Succeed? And you can introduce yourself as well, but tell us why Succeed decided to take part.
For sure. My name is Emily. I'm the CDO of Succeed. So we do sustainable agriculture education, both for schools and in rural communities. So we do small scale hydroponic production, and then a line of learning activities and experiences for youth that go along with it. So for us, the big reason why we wanted to take part was we wanted to actually have high school students be part of creating some of the curriculum-based outcomes that we were creating. So the different activities that we had going at the high school level, we really wanted to make sure that they were relevant and interesting for high school students. So we thought, what better way than to have high school students engaged with actually writing the activities and putting together the materials. So earlier in the presentation, you saw Ava holding up one of our micro gardens. She ended up joining our team in 2021 and then stayed on with us for 1.5 years. She's taking a short break and then coming back with us in the summer. But it was really about getting that youth perspective and wanting to integrate it throughout our team.
Excellent. That makes sense a lot. Yeah, since you're working with youth, it makes sense to have young perspectives to join and add their thoughts. So that makes sense. So let's turn to what your students did. So Renat, can you tell us, you had 2 students. What did they do for, like, what were they able to accomplish?
Yeah, so we had 2 students. I had 2 tasks for them. I went on a Coast Guard vessel in spring, and we had a bunch of sensors on the Coast Guard vessel collecting data, ice data. We had cameras, lidars, and whatnot. And we collected hundreds of gigabytes of data, and I needed someone to basically crunch the data and process it. And one of the students took care of that. And I planned that activity that is going to take whole time, but actually the student was so productive that the student finished earlier. And then as the student worked, we figured out that they can actually do Python. And then, okay, why don't I try? This is my Python code. It does complex things. Can you figure out optimal parameters so that the data it spits out is the cleanest? Student solved it. Very good. And the second student, so we had purchased a holographic monitor. It's like a regular monitor, but it shows your data in 3D. It's like if you're looking on an object and you can see it, if you walk around the monitor, you can see the object, the backside of an object, basically. And we never had time to play with it. We purchased this item to market our products because we do iceberg profiling. We go out in the ocean and we go around an iceberg and we get full 3D shape of an iceberg. So so we wanted to use this monitor A for probably going out on conferences and putting the monitor and show the products we're doing, and B, if it is handy, we can put this type of monitor on a vessel for captains who are using the system so that they can see an iceberg or ocean data better. And again, we never had time to figure out how this thing worked, and it was not assigned to any of the projects, but we had it. So I basically gave it to a student, said, figure it out. This is the data we have. We want to show and demonstrate the data on this device. And basically, Steven spent all his time doing it, and he created several visualizations of different 3D data we had.
Very impressive. So yeah, that's a great example of taking something that you didn't quite have time to do and kind of just throwing it to a student to see if they could figure it out. So that's excellent. Thanks for sharing that. Emily, what did Ava do when she was working with you?
Yeah. So her first summer that she was with us, she spent a lot of time doing content creation with us on the kind of activities side of things. So she was working with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Canada, a lot of the green teams, and a lot of youth over the summer to kind of get their perspective on what we should be teaching around sustainable agriculture in the classroom. And then she worked with our team to actually execute on creating those activities, video resources, kind of putting together that full package for schools. After that, she spent 6 months working with us on social media, so helping us launch our first TikTok, coming up with content ideas, and very much educating our team on how to use TikTok, which is great. We got her a little bit into SEO optimization with the website and using different softwares like SEMrush to figure out kind of what are those things that we should be including in these videos to get more engagement. We attempted to try and get a couple things to go viral. It was not successful. However, we had a good effort. And in the last 6 months, she's actually been writing children's books with us. So we've been writing a series of 17 books for youth all about sustainability. So before she finishes high school, she'll actually be a published author of 3 books and a published author in Japan.
Amazing. That's awesome. So just to clarify for everyone, so when Ava did the program with Succeed, it was 9 weeks. So after the 9 weeks of the Tech Immersion program, Emily and Succeed decided to keep the student on part-time, not through techNL funding, but it was a great opportunity to find someone, and then they clearly enjoyed working with her, and Ava enjoyed working with them. So it's really great example. And I think Renat, there was a student at yours that stayed on a little bit extra after as well, right?
Yes, that's correct. So
it speaks to the value that these students bring. So and too bad you didn't go viral, Emily. I still believe in you. I think you can. So thank you for that. So I think another question I hear is, how did you manage these students? So who took on kind of the management role or the supervisory role for these students? And if you can kind of describe if they were working in person or remote, I think that might help people get a little bit more of a context of what we're talking about. But anyone want to go first?
Yeah, I can go. So administratively wise, admin wise, I spoke with our guys and they said the techNL program is extremely easy in terms of that they didn't have to do much paperwork and all the finance went through you guys. And it was easy to manage on their side. Now, work-wise, I was their immediate supervisor, and it was fairly easy because every time you get a student, it's a trade-off. You don't want to spend more time training and supervising student that you would spend on the task itself, because you will probably be more effective with the task, but you want to save your time. So this was a big win because I didn't spend much time with them. You give a task, and whenever they get a result, you come back and discuss. And there were no, how to say, they were never stuck. And I was surprised how they pull information rather not from research papers but they would open on YouTube and Google a video how to do this and that in the software, and they would, like dig information from YouTube videos, which is interesting. And I guess that's the age difference thing. Yeah. And so it was fairly easy. We had no issues because we also have we also had space for them, so they spent all of their time in our office. So we had computers for them and a cubicle for them. But I can totally imagine they can work from home because it's tech sector, and I guess they have laptops from schools at least, and the tasks are not computationally heavy to be executed in regular laptops.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Emily?
Yeah, so Ava was mostly managed by Andrea. So we had kind of a direct manager over her. At the time in 2021, we were still going through the midst of COVID. So we were doing kind of a combination of virtual and in person. So 2 days a week in the office and then 3 days working from home, which we found really helpful. She was also doing a lot of engagement and kind of Zoom sessions with youth across the province. So she was really great at that. We did an hour weekly kind of check-in with her. That was kind of I guess a designated time between her and Andrea to kind of review what tasks she was working on, see where she was with different things. But then she participated like she was part of the team because she has been part of the team for so long. So we found it really, really helpful and beneficial to the team overall.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you. So hopefully that gives some ideas of how it works on both ends, from the student side and from the employer side. So is there anything that you kind of would like to add, Jacqueline? I never really gave you the mic at any point, but is there anything you'd like to add to any of those points?
Yeah, I think it was beneficial for us to have more than one student at a time. So it certainly, the student wasn't so nervous. They sort of had a friend going along with them. And then it was easier for us to come up with some group projects where they could work on it together. So having more than one, I think, worked out for both sides. Our students were primarily in office. There was a little bit of remote for the first set in 2020, but we work a lot with 3D printers. We actually design and manufacture the product. So they helped right from ideation of a product to design, right to handing it over to the healthcare organization. So it sort of necessitated the in-person aspect of it. Not sure what else to add.
No, that's perfect. So thank you. So I'm just aware of our time. So I'm going to come back to our slides, and I want to make sure we have time to answer some questions from the audience. So I think you should be able to see my screen there now. Let's move to the next slide. So, I wanted to talk about our goals. So I figure if I let you know what I'm dreaming of, then maybe if you put it out in the universe, it'll come true a little bit. So students employed, and the way I'd like to see that, and the way I think it would be most valuable and rewarding, is to have teams of students. So Jacqueline just alluded to the fact that students, when they join with peers, they can learn from one another, they can support one another, but also with more students, you can achieve more. So because our students are coming with varying experiences and backgrounds, I imagine building the teams of students with somebody with a lot of experience and someone with very little, and everyone in between, so that there can be some mentoring and maybe some leadership within that team of high school students. So my dream is to have teams of 5 students at companies, and the way that would work is we would build project-based. We would do it in a project-based way. So companies would take on a team of students, and the students would be given a specific task, like one of the ones I mentioned earlier, or similar to the ones Renat and Emily and Jacqueline had mentioned. And through that, students will be able to learn and we'll be able to achieve a goal. So with more people, obviously more hands on deck, you can achieve more. So I think that would be, we think that would be beneficial for sorry, my laptop's not plugged in, for companies and for students. So that's our goal for 2023. We think it would make it more robust. So it would make it a stronger program for both companies and students. It would add a lot of relevancy to what it's actually like to work in tech. It's a lot of team-based structure anyway. So for a team of high school students, it would be similar and in a project-based way. So the students know exactly what they're working on, and the companies have an idea of what can actually be achieved within that 6-week time frame. So open it up to questions now. So this is a word cloud of responses from our employers in 2021. We asked them to describe their interns in 3 words. And as you can see, there's some really common threads that came through. They were described as eager, kind, resourceful, passionate, diligent, dependable, smart, respectful. They had a lot of talent, a lot of skills. So I think that's a really telling kind of snapshot of what students are coming with. So there was a few questions in the chat, and if there's anyone that wants to ask a question, feel free to unmute and ask out loud or ask on the chat. I'm just going to plug in my computer. So we don't die. So let me find the chat. And okay. So the first question there is, how involved are companies in selecting students? When will you have a sense of what the weekly schedule will look like? So first question is, the companies can be involved as much as they'd like. So last year, we reviewed all the applicants. We kind of narrowed it down to a pool. And then we forwarded a couple of selections that I thought matched the company's needs based on that. And then the companies had the option to do interviews or to do one-on-ones to meet the students. So it's completely up to the company. If you want to hand over the reins and say, assign me a student, that's okay too. The weekly schedule, that's yet to be determined. So of course, this is all dependent on our funding and our funding providers. So once we have a good sense of interest, we'll be submitting our funding proposal. And once we have our proposal in and are working with our funding partner, we'll have a better sense on what the weekly schedule and the structure of the program will actually look like. Funded at 75%. So that was, I think, referenced on an earlier slide. So the funding that we received in the last 2 years covered 75% of student wages. So that meant that the companies paid 25% of the student wage. Just to give you an idea, that was the last 2 years, students were paid $15 an hour for 35 hours a week for 6 weeks. So you can kind of do the math on what that would look like, but we estimate about $800 to $900 per student. Another question, tell people that techNL handles payroll. So yeah, so that is something that we implemented in 2022 based on feedback from the companies to make it as easy as possible, because we've heard from these companies already that they're taking multiple students and probably working with other grants and applications and things like that. So techNL took on the payroll responsibility last year, and students were actually paid from techNL instead of from Succeed or from C-Corps, for example. So that kind of, Renat, you kind of alluded to the fact that made it a bit easier for C-Corps to kind of sign on. So we'll aim for that again to make it as simple as possible for companies. I'm going to read this now. Wondering if the program is open for immigrant or refugee students who just completed the high school outside Canada and are awaiting application for post-secondary education. That is a great question. I'm pretty sure that is dependent on our funding resource. So That would have to be, I'd have to clarify with them, but I believe they would have to be approved to work in Canada in some way. So I'm not sure on the specifics on that one, but I agree it would be a great opportunity for diversity and inclusion, and maybe something that we can look at in our funding application as well. Hope, what is the application process like? Do we provide job or project descriptions? How do we match with the student? Would we be still eligible if we took on less than 5? Okay, excellent question. So the application process for companies is nothing too structured really. It's just to contact me and I can work with you on what you would like to get out of a high school team. And if there's something I can do or we can do to help support that and coming up with a project that's suitable, we're definitely open to that. Matching the student, I think I might have already kind of touched on that, but you can be as involved as you'd like in that way. And yes, I think I'm still interested in companies that aren't able to take on 5. I understand that companies vary in size and human resource abilities and all that. So I think the goal is to get as many teams as possible, but if there is a company that wants to take part but can only take 1 or 2 students, I think that is definitely open for discussion, and we want to involve you as much as you want to be involved. So those are really great questions. Does anyone else have any other questions you want to ask about the program or about becoming involved? If you're typing one, I'll just leave it there for a minute. But if you're not a pure tech company, Renat, I'll come back to you in just a second.
If I want to advertise this program among the high school students I know, is there a link, or when does application process start, or how does it work?
Yeah, so for the high school side, for the student side, we don't have the applications open yet because we're still working on gaining interest from the employer side, but I would expect early spring for that to open. We'll promote it on all techNL channels. I'll be sharing it with all of the registrants from this webinar and all of my network. So we'll be sure to get it out there and encourage you to share it with high school students that might be interested. I was going to just point out, if you're not a pure tech company, or if you don't consider yourself a tech company, then that is okay. We offer experiences to students in all different lines of work. So Ovia mentioned marketing. Russell was more so involved in the computer engineering side. But if there are companies that kind of thinking, well, I don't know if I have a tech experience, then I can work with you to kind of figure out what that would look like and if it would be relevant and meaningful for a student. Hope says, I saw last year it seemed there was some kind of learning schedule for students where they spend afternoons doing predetermined learning. Is that still the case? Would they be able to fully? So that is something I'm also still working with industry on. So I would love to know from the industry side, what Hope is referring to is that we had a structured time for the Python coding, where students were doing learning every morning and working with their company in the afternoon. So it depends this year who we go with in terms of the training partner and how we want to structure that. I would love to know from industry if there's people on here, if you think that you would rather just have your students and own them for 6 weeks and have them work for you full time, or if you'd rather have a more structured like training integrated into the day. I'm definitely open to thoughts. We're still hammering out some of those details, so any feedback is helpful there. Okay, I know it's 11:59, so I'm just going to put my screen back up with my info. If there are any other questions, please put them in. I'm going to stay on for a few minutes if anyone wants to hang around and ask some questions. But if you are interested, or if you want to bring this forward in your company and tell them more about it, please do so. And if there's anything I can do to help, please just email me. I'm susan@technl.ca. We do have an updated program page on our website, technl.ca/programs. You'll find the high school link at the bottom. There's also a report from 2022, so you can read more in depth about the feedback we had from students and employers. So there's lots more info to get out there, but I hope I gave a a good overview and a good idea of what the program is and what it's all about and why we do it. So just to close off, this is a quote we had from one of our employers. They participated 2 years in a row, and they said, "It's so invigorating, inspiring, and still wonderfully grounding to work with young minds." So just to kind of close off with the fact that, as Jacqueline alluded to, it's really powerful to welcome students, especially students that are this young, and have an impact on their career making and decision making in the future. So I would love to hear from you. If you are interested, send me an email, and we'll follow up with other resources in a few days. So thank you to our guests, Emily and Renat. Thank you for speaking to your experience. Russell and Ovia, thank you for stepping up and speaking on behalf of students. And thank you to our board chair for taking the time today out of your busy schedule to speak to the importance of the program. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks so much.